We are nearing 7 o'clock. Would Sister Xiaoqing or the moderator please begin today's session? Thank you.
Good day, Sifu, Brother Joe Huang, Hualien Dharma team, and brothers and sisters around the globe. Before we hear review of Wondrous Lotus Sutra, let us pay our respects for these teachings and explanations to the Buddha and Master Cheng Yen by making 3 sincere bows. Please rise. Palms together. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. And a bow to our beloved Sifu who could join us today. And pay respect to each other for making your presence today. Over to you, Brother Joe.
Okay, thank you very much. Once again, good morning, everybody. We're back to our, well, at least it's mine, favorite time of the week, and is to be able to see all of you and to be able to share and also learn from each other what we have seen so far in Dharma. And I think it's something that I would like to share with you that could you have imagined that the Lotus Sutra could be so exciting? And this is something that I found hard to believe. If you would have told me a few years ago that the Lotus Sutra or any sutra at all could be this exciting, could be this fun, and could be almost keeping you on your toes, every day. What is Master going to say today? What is Master going to say? What's going to happen to the next story? The dragon maiden or all these different characters that appeared and what they mean. I think it's very unlikely that I would say, yeah, it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be good drama. I wouldn't use those words, but I wouldn't say it's entertaining, but I think it's something that is very, very skillfully done by our Master to keep us very much interested. And I think that's also part of the skillful means is a way to show people that Dharma or Sutra or the Buddha Dharma, the teaching itself, is actually very lively. It's actually very, very fun. It's actually very, very much integrated to our world, so much so that we are we can feel that we are part of this every step of the way. So let us now begin today's portion. And once again, I would like to show my appreciation to all of you, as well as our masters who are here with us. There are 3 that are here today, and they will, even though one of them is ill, she's having cold, and as the weather is changing very, very unpredictably, please do be reminded that we should add add more whenever it's needed. As you probably all know, that we have lost one of our beloved brother here at the abode, and the issue of health has been something that's very prominent in everybody's mind. So if you are already certified, you are and this is by the order of Master herself, that you are granted, I think it was every 2 or 3 years. Every 2 or 3 years, you are given a free body check, a free complete physical check at our hospital. So whether you are living far, far, far away, like in the United States, or nearby, like in Malaysia or in Taiwan or anywhere, please, if you're certified, take this opportunity. This is something that Master gives us. Just like the Dharma, we should take it and use it. Otherwise, it would just be left there and unused, and it would just be wasted. So it's something that Master said once, and it kept on saying again and again that we should remember and keep a good health so that we could do more to help the world. Okay, that has nothing to do with today's chapter. So let us get into today's content. And we're talking about chapter 13, encouraging devotion. It's a very interesting chapter from the onset, from the end of the chapter 12 all the way on to the beginning of chapter 13. And I think it's already nearly 2 weeks that we're in this chapter. And it's already a lot of action, a lot of fun, a lot of packed information and knowledge and wisdom. So let's move on to page 3. On page 3, what we're going to talk about last week, thanks to Brother Yo Ping, who mentioned to summarize the entire chapter 12. And in chapter 12, we probably all remember it was talking about 2 main people, right? Devadatta and also the dragon girl or the dragon maiden. And however, to summarize it all, I think Brother Joe did a very good job on summarizing that it's really talking about the greater the vow, the greater the strength. And all the other things being not so important factor. But the important factor is how much or what is it that you want to do? What is your objective? Don't focus on what you have right now that you can achieve, but rather what is the main objective and can you do this? Well, if you have the greater vow, if you have the vow, then you will have the strength. You will find a way. And Brother Joe made some references to the hospitals that were built, and I think there was the very, very important references to how it's not how much you have at the time to determine what you can do at the time. It's how much vow you have, how great the vow you have to determine what you can do. And so with whatever strength we have, then we should just do it. And I think that was the main key from last week's sharing to summarize chapter 12. On page 4, we come up to this week, and we've already moved on to chapter 13. And I wanted to go through two parts. One, where does chapter 13 fit in? Where in the entire Lotus Sutra, what is chapter 13 really trying to do? And how does it fit in with the previous 12 chapters? Okay, and this encouraging devotion, what does that mean? Okay, and also some of the things that we have already covered from chapter 12 onto chapter 13. There are some main objectives and including main topics, including the vows, the importance of vows that was mentioned earlier, obstacles that we found, and difficulties. And these are the things that we're going to talk about. So let's move on to page 5. So page 5 talks about the first topic. Where does it fit in? If we move on to page 6, we see there's we do this often. We do this often, and Master does this often too, is to give us a much bigger perspective of where we are right now. So instead of just keep on going forward in chapters, but Master would like us to know where we are. So she does these summaries all the time, especially from chapter to chapter. And also within the chapter, she often refer back to previous chapters and previous stories to remind us, did you remember these? Did you remember that? And I think whenever Master mentions, did you remember, it's always alarming to me because I usually don't remember. And it tells you how comfortable, sometimes like if you watch a comfortable TV show, you really don't know what the TV show was about. It's too comfortable. How comfortable the Dharma was, that it was so comfortable that I forgot about it. And I'm not saying this in a good way. I'm saying that I should not do that. But it's so comfortably listening that sometimes you forgot that it's not something for you to listen to. It's actually something for us to cultivate and practice and contemplate on. It's not just something that, yeah, it's so nice to hear, but it's something that to reflect. So, and there's something that we're going to talk about later. So from chapter 1, which is the prelude to open up this sutra, from chapter 2 to 9, it's all about explaining Dharma. So if you remember, and Master also mentioned today on live on Xun Fa Xiang, on the morning sermons today, the chapter 2 to 9, it's all about parables and explaining, and then also giving future prophecies for future Buddhahood. That's what chapter 2 to 9 are about. Keep on explaining, using different ways, different stories, different parables, to explain what Lotus Sutra, the main theme, is all about. And then when you reach a certain stage, then you give the bestowal of the prophecy for future Buddhahood to the disciples, and then granting more and more. So before we explain this part, as in everyone can attain Buddhahood, and so we see the door getting open more wider and wider. However, a different way to look at chapter 2 to 9 is that the number of people getting prophesied for future Buddhahood represents the stories or the parables who the parables were applicable to. What that means is, from the very first story to the second, to the third, to the fourth, and there are many parables from chapter 2 to 9, there were actually different stories that were applicable to different groups of people. And there were the ones that were very wise, there were ones that were wise sages, and there were ones that were not so learned, but that's okay. You have different stories fit for different categories of group of people. And that's what 2 to 9 is. All different types of categories of teaching materials for you, for us. So then we are prepared and being able to take these stories, extend however we want, and then be able to reach out to more people. That's chapter 2 to 9, giving you the content, giving you the Dharma, giving you the parables, making sure you understand. And then from chapter 10 to 12, it talks about merits of upholding the Lotus Sutra. So what does that mean? If we go on to page 7. So on page 7, I break it down further on from chapter 10, 11, 12, and 13. And if you remember, chapter 10, it was talking about the teacher of the Dharma. And there are, if you remember, the 3 tracks, the robes, okay, the robe, the seat, the room of compassion, the robe of forbearance, and also all these things. And also, Master mentioned that as teacher of the Dharma, not only would they be bestowed on as future Buddha as well, but whenever they need, Buddha will send agents, or Buddha will send help, or bodhisattvas to help you spread the Dharma. And even though in the process, in the journey, it will be very difficult. Remember, that was a time when in Teacher of the Dharma in chapter 10, we talked about there are people that will attack, or they will verbally assault, or they are doing various nasty things to the teacher of the Dharma, to the person that is spreading the teaching. However, they must be very steadfast and be able to continue their task and their responsibility. And if you do that, you will also be prophesied, you will also be able to attain Buddhahood in the future. That was chapter 10. Chapter 11 talks of the witness, the bearing witness of the abundant treasure Buddha that showed, because in chapter 10, it was said that anywhere anyone that talked about the Lotus Sutra, a stupa or the treasure tower will appear there to bear witness and to also support the spreading of the teachings of this Lotus Sutra. So what do you know? Chapter 11, exactly, a stupa appeared, because what are we doing? We're talking about Lotus Sutra. So a treasure tower will emerge. So in chapter 11, it's the emergence of the treasure tower, and in there we learn about the Buddha, the ancient Buddha, who didn't have the chance to preach, to spread the teaching of the Lotus Sutra. So he made a vow to come back to wherever anyone was talking about the Lotus Sutra. Okay, so that was chapter 11, to show witness, to bear witness, and to also show that how we can do that, we would be able to keep and gather all the different things that we have heard, all the different infinite number of doors of wisdom that we have obtained through upholding the Lotus Sutra. When we combine them into one, we will be able to open this treasure tower and to uncover the Buddha nature that's within us. That's also a merit, in that it's also granting people that if we are able to uphold the teaching, if we're able to gather all the teachings of the Dharma into one, into us, meaning not just learning and listening, but also putting into practice, then we would hold the key to open the treasure tower. We will be able to open the treasure tower and see the Buddha within, and that's meaning uncovering our own Buddha nature. That's also the merit of upholding the treasure, upholding the sutra. Onto chapter 12, we talked about Devadatta, which is a person who has done many, many unspeakable sins against the Sangha, against the Buddha, and doing all these sort of things. But he had done his share of studying, and he had been a very avid learner and follower of Buddha, except it was deviated. And even for these people, that they will eventually be bestowed the future Buddhahood. So that's telling you that if you uphold the teaching, you will be able to obtain the merit to become a Buddha. So 10, 11, 12, it's all telling you, if you are a good person and become a teacher of the Dharma, you follow the teaching, you do all your tasks, you do your responsibility, and you shoulder the responsibility, and you make great vow and become the teacher of the Dharma, you will become a Buddha. Number 11, even if you didn't do that, but if you put them into practice, if you do what you say and say what you do, you gather all your emanations of what Buddha or emanations of Dharma into one, you still will hold the key to uncover the ancient Buddha that is within. Chapter 12, even if you don't do that, and you're not a teacher of the Dharma, and you don't hold the key to the treasure tower, and if you do unspeakable sins, if you uphold this treasure, this sutra, long time, and you really do not deviate yourself, whether it's from the animal realm, like the dragon maiden, or a Devadatta who has committed all these sins, if you believe and you veer yourself back to the right path, then after a long, long time, you will still be able to achieve and attain Buddhahood. So 10, 11, 12 are talking about how important this sutra is to change course for those people that others think that would be impossible to become Buddha, or for those people that are already on their way to Buddhahood. They all are on the same path. So knowing that the different ways, chapters 2 to 9, the different tools that we have, knowing that if we uphold these tools, we will be able to get to Buddhahood from chapters 10 to 12. What do we do next? It begins to encourage more people to do the same, to follow suit, to continue the same path. And that is where we are in chapter 13. It's encouraging everyone. Let's do this. Come on, we know the way now. We see how all these people have gone so far to get there, to be prophesized for future Buddhahood. Now is the time. If they can do it, so can we. And that's what encouraging devotion is about. And that's where we start. Let's move on to page number 8. That's why we move on to the main objective of this chapter. That's why the chapter began. Let's see on page 9. That's why the chapter began when Mezenkim Bodhisattva and Great Joy of Preaching Bodhisattva, both of them, leading 20,000 other bodhisattvas, they making great vows, right? And if you know, at this time, it's the time that Master says, do you remember? And like I said, this is the time that's really alarming to me, because she will look around and she will make eye contact with people. And then she would look in my eyes, and then my eyes would just be blank. It would be like, no, I don't remember. I think this is the first time I heard these people. No, this is not the first time you hear these people. This is not the first time you heard of these. It's actually not the second time either. But you have heard them many, many, many times, but you forgot them. Oh, I did. So who are these two? Well, amazingly, Medicine King Bodhisattva appear in chapter 10. So when it was talking about the teacher of the Dharma, he was the one that raised the question. And the Great Joy of Preaching, Bodhisattva, appeared in chapter 12, chapter 11, in the emergence of the treasure tower. And he was the one, and this I remember. I didn't remember who did it, but I remember somebody raising their hand and say, well, if there's a Buddha in the tower, we would like to see him. And look at that. It was a simple question. If I was there and if I saw a huge tower rising above from the ground, and somebody told me that there's a Buddha inside, I think I would ask the same question too. But I wasn't there, and it was great joy of preaching Bodhisattva that made the question and therefore allowed the Buddha to answer and say, yes, but to open, we need to get all the emanations from all corners of the world gather into one place, and then we can open. So anyway, these two Bodhisattvas, they both appear before. And if you don't remember, that's okay. We can always look back, look them online, and you'll find them. They were all there. So what vow did they make? The vow that they make was that they understand that in the future world of decay, the world is going through moral decay. A lot of things are happening. Master is telling us that the four elements are all imbalanced, that people, our morality and our ethics and all these spirituality are going down, and we must raise them up again. But it's very difficult. It's actually in the time of decay, and it's not going well. And these are the bodhisattvas that says, at this time, when it's very difficult to preach, when there are so many obstacles and difficulties, we will continue. We will continue marching forward to spread the Dharma even to those people that are very difficult to learn and understand, to teach. But that's okay. We'll be steadfast, and we will continue journey on. They made this great vow, and so there were others. There were others following this. So let's move on to chapter 10. But did everybody make the same vow? Did everybody say, yeah, those 20,000 people ahead of me, they made the great vow. Now I am sure that I will make the same vow too. No, not everybody. There were others that heard about this, and they said, well, that is great. Now the Sangha world had these 20,000 bodhisattvas doing the work. Let's try somewhere else. So there were others that made the vow to say, because the people, the sentient beings of this world are so difficult to transform. They were deluded. They were completely ignorant, and they have all these, they made a lot of sins, and they did all these things. So they're so deluded that it's very difficult. Therefore, we made the vow to go ahead to other worlds, and we're going to spread the Dharma there. And so that's what there were other disciples. Upon hearing the vow, they also made the vow, but it's a little bit different. A slightly less scale vow. And I think Master very interestingly said, are they really sure? I think this is the question that we all have to ask ourselves. Are they really sure that going to other world and doing the work of spreading the Dharma, is that really going to be easier? I don't think anybody would know. I think recently there's a news that says that there are 7 planets in the nearby star that is very much like Earth. So imagine if somebody said, you know what, our Earth is beyond repair. Our Earth is too hard. If you want to tell people to stop polluting the Earth, it's too difficult. So let's start anew. Why don't we take a space shuttle and go to these 7 stars, or 7 planets in this star, and there are 7 of them. You can pick, you can choose. That's wonderful. Imagine if you have, 7 cars or 7 sports cars you can pick to drive to work. Okay, so you can pick anyone, and forget about Earth because it's too difficult. I give up. Imagine that. And Master's question to them would be, well, are you sure it's easier to go there and try to colonize the places you've never been there before? You never know what's there. Are you sure it's easier? Or maybe we should just settle here. This is our responsibility. We messed this thing up, and maybe it's our job to try to fix it. So anyway, people have different vows, and people have different views and different confidence. Yet, that's what the chapter began with. There are still, even though they were prophesied to be future Buddhas, you can tell right away that there are those that still not quite sure that this is what they want to do. They make the vow, but they're not quite sure. Do I want to stay? It's kind of difficult. Maybe I don't want to stay. Maybe you stay. I will go and do something different. And that's where there are still others who don't have enough confidence, or they don't have enough faith, or they're on their way. They were prophesied for future Buddhahood, but they are just not ready to take on this grand task of staying in this world to try to transform the sentient beings here. So let's move on to page 11. So obstacles that we hear, right? So obviously, the obstacles that we just talked about, confidence, faith, not deep enough or not ready yet. Those are obstacles. And yet, if you remember, starting from chapter 10, Buddha had already been calling out to disciples, I need people to help spread the Dharma to this world because this is what this world needs. So there are already obstacles that's faced by the Buddha himself because the disciples are not ready yet. There are some that are ready, and there are some that prefer to go to other places, unexplored, different places other than this one because they think this one is too difficult. And I want to point this out to you that the first obstacle that we also talked about in this chapter is the journey of the bhikkhuni. How Gautami, how she was the first, the bhikkhuni to be part of the monastic life. She was the first female, and in the order of the Sangha. So it was indeed very obstacle, and it was a huge obstacle. And I think back to the time, Master also tell of the original story where it went through Ananda, and Buddha also said, well, if there are women in the order, then it's going to mean certain fate and things that's going to happen. And that on that day, Master said, to ordain these nuns, Buddha actually listed out a list of requirements. In fact, they're called the 8 Garudamas. And what are they? I actually sort of have listed them, but the importance isn't the content. You can just feel that there are additional requirements for these women, for these bhikkhunis to become part of the order. And the Master said on that day, which really strikes me hard, deep in my heart, was that, well, it was just take it or leave it. It was a deal offered, okay, in my layman terms, it was a deal offered to Gautami and said, if you want to, take it. I give you 8 conditions. You must follow, you must uphold. You know that it's going to be unequal. You know that I'm going to give you more precepts you need to follow. Take it or leave it. And Master said that, well, if you leave it, you would just be like one of those 5,000 disciples that stood up and go, that stood up and leave. At the beginning, in the prelude, in the beginning of the chapter, in the beginning of the Lotus Sutra, when Buddha began to expound the great Dharma, these 5,000 people thought, it's okay. We have heard enough, and we have heard of this before. I would gain nothing by staying, so I have to leave. And you know what? They were not right, but to the Buddha, there was nothing to gain and nothing to be lost with the leaving of these 5,000 people. So it was a deal that was made between the Master and the disciple. These are the conditions. Would you take it to learn and to be part of the order and to learn the Dharma? Gladly, Gautami took it. And not only she took it, but she took a lot of people, and many, many other people continue on. That's why now we have our Master. And I think this is something that we should all remember clearly, that this is not something that is easy. Because Master said it was either you take it or you leave it. If you take it, good, continue. If you leave it, nothing more, nothing less. The Dharma is still there. Maybe there's going to be one day that you would like to continue. You would like to take it, but that is okay. So that was one of the main obstacles that was presented. And if we continue on to page 12. 12, 13, and 14. I had listed some of the pictures from TV, from Dai TV. It was talks about the past, and this segment was when 师父, which is first disciple of our master, she was talking about the old days when they were only 7, when they were only 6. And what was that, what was said was, said they knew that it was going to be difficult. But Master told them, if you cannot even endure and take all the difficulties that we face right now, then when you confronted with challenges in the future, you will not be able to overcome them. You will not be able to do well when you are confronted with all these situations. And that's what it meant. It was the same thing. Master was telling her disciples, take it or leave it. Staying with me, and you will have to do work, labor, not just preaching the Dharma, but labor. Work in the farm, work with your craft, but do everything you need to do to sustain yourselves. Everyone knew this. This was the deal that they made. Think back to chapter 12. Remember when the king that was in the past life, that was actually become the Buddha, the king met this sage. And the sage says, I have something that you might want. And you know what? The sage did not say a word about what that was. He only said it was something to do with Lotus Sutra. That was all he said. And the king gave up everything, right? He became the servant. He stick very closely to this sage. And no matter what the sage requests, the king followed. He didn't ask for a better deal. He didn't ask for equality. He just knew that that was the path to obtain Buddhahood. That was the right path. So that was all that he did. He didn't care that it was inequality. He didn't care that why did they have to get, less precepts and we had to get more precepts. No, that's not the question that was asked. There was no issue of equality. The only issue was what would it take me to reach enlightenment? And that was the difference. So obstacles, not in their eyes. In their eyes, it was one more homework, one more hump that they need to get through, and that was it. So thankfully, they chose that path. So that's why we have our Tzu today. Now, if we go back to page 11, we will see the second part, Gautami and Yashodora's wish. And this was mentioned today. And I wanted to bring this up because I think it was very interesting. Master had mentioned that even though Buddha today in the chapter, Buddha had already bestowed the future prophecy to 6,000 bhikkhunis. However, he still had to individually mention Gautami and Yashodhara, both of them who are very closely related to the Buddha. And Master said that, well, this is just attachment. And it's something that we as ordinary beings will have also. Like today, at the end, if you were there on the live session, at the end, Master talked about where? The Philippines. But if you remember, Master also said that yesterday there were many meetings. Imagine if you were part of the meetings from the morning to the afternoon. And when the moment that Master said, I had many meetings yesterday, and one of them was very particularly interesting. Let me tell you about it. In your mind, you're probably thinking, please talk about my meeting. Please mention me. I think everybody naturally will be doing the same thing. And that's exactly how Gautami and Yashodhara, they felt. They felt the same thing. You had mentioned everybody. They did the same thing that I did. They got prophesized, but I didn't. Why not? Right? Please mention me. Please, please, please. And Buddha, knowing his disciples very well, looked in the eyes and look at their eyes, and he knew, I think I should mention you, otherwise you would not, give it up. And these two, they didn't let Buddha just pass them. They raised their hand and say, well, you didn't mention me. So the Buddha would say, okay, let me tell you about it. So this is very ordinary. I'm telling you, these are, yes, they are from the palace. They gave up everything, but they're very much like us. They're very much like every one of us. They still have this attachment. Yes, and that's why I'm telling you, the Lotus Sutra is the king of sutra, because It's not talking about stories of 2,500 years ago. It's talking about you and me. It's talking about the very moment right now. When Master talked about the meeting yesterday, I was thinking, is she going to talk about the meeting that I was in? That was what everybody's thinking. So it's very much like us. Even though you have made such great vows, we are not there yet, and it will take a long time. But don't worry, because Master will look you in the eye and know her disciples and will say, okay, let me tell you what you want to hear. And that is her compassion, and that is how her skillful ways is able to lead us to the final attainment of the Buddhahood. That's my today's sharing. So very interesting. Please, whenever you can, come to the live session and or even discussion, because that's when you realize this is, it's like a concert. You're right here with the live band, and they're giving you the best performance and all the stories. It's amazing because it's talking about our stories. It's not somebody else's. And these names could be very, like strange, like you never heard them before, but they are you and I. Okay, so thank you. And now we're gonna go into the part of answering the questions. So please, we will have Su Jing. Okay, so thank you. We're gonna head into the questions, and then we will continue with the sharing from the different centers. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. This is so we still so enjoy all the performance. Okay. So I will share with the first question. Yeah, one question. So the first question is so Master Chen Yan says that even if the beverage we consume contains 0.01% alcohol, as her disciples, we must practice the precept of no alcohol consumption. Can help to elaborate further. So when we uphold, I think Master already mentioned, if we uphold the precept, we need to uphold completely. There should not have anything that leak. So if you don't uphold completely, then there's no still not great to you want to uphold the precepts. So just like today, if you think it's just 0.01%, it's just a very little, but think about if you have this kind of a little bit leak, but this leak will accumulate more and more gradually. You can see the outcome will be one day it will become 50% or even 100%. So don't think about this, it's just small, this kind of consumption, but this is just like in our daily practice. So we need to really uphold the daily practice we do. Just like Master mentioned right now, that keep our sixth sense that very tightly. Don't kind of deviate to outside, then just lose your concentration, because the accumulation will make your leak more and more then eventually you will kind of deviate to, not the right path we are practice right now. So summarize that don't think about this 0.1% is just little. So uphold the precept completely, because when you cultivate more and more, that you will be more purified, you'll be more clean. Then even this small dot will be so obvious in your practice. So let's uphold completely the precept. Don't even just consume the 0.01% alcohol. That's sharing from me. Thank you. So next will be Yoping.
Okay, good morning, all brothers. Good morning, all brothers and sisters. This is Yoping over here. And let me see you. Okay, I would like to touch on question 2. And question 2 is on, okay, it asks, the Dragon King has risen above 10 realms and reached the stage of emptiness. And may I know if the statement is correct? And yeah, and from there, there's the extension. So actually, we actually went to look at whether is this our translation problem or so when to look back and we couldn't really find, but but what I found is actually on the December 23. On December 23, Master actually said this, when on that day, that is when the Dragon Maiden was first introduced. Oh, sorry, it's not. It was when Manjusri came back from the ocean. And then Master was sharing about why the ocean, the Dragon Palace, and then the Dragon Palace is the place of the Dragon King and his Dragon Kingdom, and so Master was introducing about that Dragon King during that time. And what Master said during that time was that Dragon King has attained the placements of has attained the 10 placements of the Bodhisattva. Here, the 10 placements is different from the 10 realms. When we talk about the 10 realms, it refers to the 6 realms that we all know very well: the heaven realm, human realm, asura realm, hungry ghost, animal, hungry ghost, and the hell realm. So these are the 6 realms. And then above the 6th realm, there are the 4 realm of the saints. That is the voice hearers, the solitary realizers, the bodhisattva, and then the Buddha. This is the 10 realms. But when we talk about the 10 placements of the bodhisattva is the Pusha Shidi. That is the 10 stages of mind of the bodhisattva. From the very first stage, there's the joy, the joy. When you first, it's like when we first entered Tzu Chi, we were so happy, so joyful. When you help people, we felt all the joys. And then from the joy of helping others, then we continue into our spiritual practice. And then slowly, we can go through the 10 stages until the very last one, Fa Yun Di, where we really reaches the stage of the Buddha mind, where we found our own Buddha nature, the whole 10 stages. So the the Dragon King is also such a person that although in the dragon realm, although he's a dragon, an animal in that sense, but he also practiced very diligently on the path. He also a bodhisattva in the dragon kingdom. He's from what Master introduced, the Dragon King is actually a very nice king, really taking care of his dragonlings. So a very nice king, also like a bodhisattva, has reaches the 10 placements of the bodhisattva. So so in that sense, I think that statement, there might be some maybe we haven't made it too clear enough. So really sorry about that. But actually, Dragon King is his mind is pretty good. 10 has reached the 10th placements of the bodhisattva. But then emptiness is actually not it's not a realm in a sense. Emptiness is the state of the mind. it's the state of mind of Buddha. Bodhisattva, as in like how you actually emptiness like the truth of Dharma, truth of all things, and then from there there's the vow of the Bodhisattva to help, and then so on and so forth. So emptiness is not a realm in a sense; it's not a stage, but then so it's a kind of a realization, and so from there, anyone in the 10th realm, if we're able to understand emptiness, it will help us a lot. Okay, so then we say that Buddha is usually we say Buddha is above the 9th realm, because Buddha has realized the true emptiness, and then so it's not attached to any of the he has no attachment in his mind, and so there's no karma from there, because there's no attachment, so he's out of the karmic cycle in a sense. So it's above the 9th realm, so it's not within these 9 realms anymore, above the 9th realm, and so we say Buddha is in the 10th realm. So this is usually how we understand these things. So I hope this clears up the issue. Okay, so that's for question 2. And then for question 3, we talked about the question was on against aphorism. Against aphorism that says there's no equality in life, and to protest for equality will only bring about distress. Okay, so this is actually, I think it's when we translate from the Chinese into English, it just sounds weird. Because I understand what you mean when you ask this question, because we're talking about that everyone is equal, that we are all equal, we all have Buddha nature, everything is equal. But why does it say there's no equality in life over here? So we must be careful over here that there is no equality in life. Life is in the material world. The things the things that we met in our life, of course, is different. My own living experiences, your living experiences, it's all because of our own past karmas, and then past lifetimes, all the karmas that follow through. So of course, everyone's karma will be different. It's impossible to have the same karma all the way for countless eons before, and then all the way the same until now. 2% complete duplicates karma. It's definitely different. So because of the different karma, we have different affinities, and so sometimes we might think that, hey, I put in so much hard work, same hard work as him. Why does he receive the kind of result while I don't? And that's all because we all have different affinities. We all have different karma, different affinities. We have meet different people, and how we have treated different people, the ways that we have treated them before, it's all different. So sometimes if we look at that very short period of time, then of course it sounds like it doesn't make sense. Why same hard work, different results? But when we look at the same hard work, but our environment is different, same hard work within a different environment, of course the result will be different too. So when we talk about 因缘果报, the cause and effect, actually in between there are 4 stages. It's the cause, the environment where the cause is in, 缘. That's your affinity, the external affinity that comes in to support your cause. And these two combines will then bring out the fruits. And then the fruit is still outside the fruit. You can still decide how you want to treat this fruit. That's the bao. We can decide, we might have the same result, we might have the same fruit, we might have the same livelihood. Maybe we are all poor, but it doesn't mean that we have to be poor in the heart too. Just like our volunteers in South Africa, or many of our volunteers, they are also very difficult in their life, but they choose to have a very open heart, and then they are even more joyful than some of the most wealthy people. So I think in this sense, we are the most equal thing is that we all have a choice. You have a choice to walk onto this path. Just like we are all different, but we all have a choice. We all have chosen to walk onto the Tzu Chi's path. And that's all equal. We all have the choice. It's just whether we want it or not. So I think in this sense, we we are all equal. And so Master says we are all equal in the sense that we all have Buddha nature, and we have to believe that everyone has the Buddha nature, and we respect every person. Yep. So that's how I interpret this question. And yep, that's from me. So for question 4, that would be Xi Shifu.
Good morning, everyone, brothers and sisters. I'm Dercy. Today I'm going to answer question number 4. So it sounds like this. If we meet people that claim to have heard a little bit of sutra and thought they have understood all of the Dharma, how do we deal with such person? Should we correct their divided statement on the spot, so this person will not mislead others? So my question is to this person: do we ourselves understand the Dharma, fully understand, or are we also the arrogant one, and we think we know better than the others? Okay, so we are all fellow students in this process of cultivation. We are all not enlightened beings yet. So just like Hualien, even we masters, we are still cultivating, and we have to respect. So respect other fellow brothers and sisters' view, because they are the one that is practicing in the communities. Okay, so everyone have different experience, different point of view. We should respect everyone's and do not think that we are above others. So in this case, I would not say we should correct others people divided thinking, no. So if it was me, I would not correct other people's statements. So I will only say I will share my point of view of the Dharma. Okay, because we are all fellow students. There is no correct or right or wrong. Everyone can share their understanding of the Dharma, or understanding of the Dharma. Everyone is correct or wrong to a certain degree. Okay, to a certain degree, because we are all not enlightened being yet. So even in this Hualien team, we often have different views, different opinions when we try to answer the questions. Sometimes we don't get everyone to agree to a certain answer, but we still voice our opinions, voice our view, and in the end, we will select somebody and say, okay, after listening to all the view from around the table, you contemplate yourself and think how you're gonna answer the questions. So we respect everyone. So there's not right or wrong in answering or in sharing the Dharma. Okay, so this is my thought on these questions. All right, thank you. Amitabha. So the next.
Okay. So that's the person that's supposed to answer this next question, Doushan Sifu is not here. Or she was here. She just left. I think it just took a very short break, but it's already 7:53. Maybe it's time that we open up to different centers to have a shout out, if that's okay, and we can see everybody, and then when Xuan Sifu comes back, then we can resume the questions. Okay, is that okay? So do we have a center that's ready for sharing today?
Yes, good morning, Amitabha.感恩to Master Chi, Brother Joe, and Brother Yuping. My apology, Brother Yuping. I always call you Brother Yuping. I heard your sharing that day. Very good, very impressive. I heartfelt. Okay, today we have a sharing from Sister Lily from Sri Dhammasara. Sister Lily. But she's a very important sister here. She's helping us with our AV. Of course, we have a new, recently joined AV, a 16-year-old brother Orange, Wei Chen. He apologized to Siku Sipo today because he couldn't make it today. He has to attend a school function, 2 days, 1 night prefect. Otherwise, we will be sharing. Maybe we'll hear from him next occasion. Okay, who is Sister Lily? Okay, Sister Lily is a very helpful and diligent sister. She can even read my mind. Many times she will offer her help before I ask for it. Very recently, like 2 days ago, I was having this problem for Charity Day. Our two very senior sisters couldn't help with our programs for that day. Sister Lily, I know she couldn't come for that day, so I dare not ask for her help. But she volunteered. She said, "Sister, I will do the whole program for you." So very grateful for her. See, there's to her. She can't read Chinese, right? Imagine sometimes. Okay, sorry, quite comical. Sometimes when we do AV during Charity Day, both of us we can't understand Chinese. Imagine the brother sister who shared, who read the slides. Both of us will be still sitting there. Then they have to give us hand signal, sign a lot of signals. So we will flash the PPT. Okay, sorry. Back to this today's sharing. Okay, Sister Lily, is she a free sister? Is she a full-time volunteer? No, she's not. She's a working mother, working in a corporate world. Her office is right in the middle of a very jam-packed city in KL. She even has 2 school-going children. And now she's also taking care of her father. Her father, recently he's not very mobile. He's at home. Yet Sister Lily could still make it for Xin Fa Xiang from time to time, and she could join us. She must have a lot of challenges, and let us hear from her how she overcome all these challenges. Over to you, sister.
Good morning, brothers and sisters in the Dharma. Okay, I actually attended Xin Fa Xiang, first attended Xin Fa Xiang in 2015. During the Xin Fa Xiang, I actually don't really understand, so I stopped. Then after that, I attended. We have this English Xin Fa Xiang started December 2015 when our Xiaoqing came back from Zhou. So during the English Xin Fa Xiang, I listened to a lot of sharing from our other brothers and sisters, and some of them do not understand Minnan, but they don't really understand, but then they still continue persistently until they understand Xin Fa Xiang. So for example, our sister Xiaoqing. Then this really inspired me. So I asked myself, I'm a Hokkien, I should be able to understand more. And I stay very near to our Gong Xiu Chu in Sri Dhammasara. So I thought that there's no excuses, so I must try. So I've started the live Xin Fa Xiang last year, August, during on the weekend. Okay. So from there I during the weekend I attended, and then okay. So last year was my patient year, and so during the patient mentioned that we have to to cultivate blessing and also wisdom. So blessing is like we doing good deeds. So wisdom we have to listen to life, that to Dharma. So that's why I came for listen to Xin Fa Xiang. Okay, so as I listen, then Master said that we need to listen, contemplate, and practice. Okay, so as we practice, actually we make ourselves to be a better person, increase our wisdom, and we also make people happy. And okay, so life Xin Fa Xiang is also a type of spiritual cultivation. Okay, so so in the morning, first thing in the morning, if we wake up in the morning, we come for Xin Fa Xiang. It's a form of meditation too, because we have to really concentrate and listen to our master when he expound the Dharma so that you can understand. So it's a practice, it's a spiritual cultivation. Okay, and with every weekend on this day Saturday we have a summary of our whole week masters Xin Fa Xiang. So it's very helpful because it's enable us. I mean, for me, it enable me to fill up the question that I have during masters expounding the Dharma. So and also with this I also listen to the Xin Fa Xiang from the previous like from the Neptuner, where we have the Chinese text and then also have English text. So sometimes I will read the English text, and also if I have time, then I will listen to the YouTube with the English subtitle. So that will also help me to understand Minanyu and link to the English. So when the live Xin Fa Xiang happen, I mean, when I listen, then it will it helps to further understand. Okay, and also every time I eagerly waiting for the Dharma permission from US, and Friday and Saturday there is this English live caption. Okay, and this is really good because it enhances our understanding. And every Friday and Saturday, we are very happy to wait for these 2 days. Okay. I think that's all for my sharing. Cảm ơn. Okay, cảm ơn.
Oh,
Cảm ơn Sister Lily. Actually, this our team is still very new, still like a baby. We are still learning on how to do live captions on this Friday and Saturday. But we are happy to hear that it really helps brothers and sisters overseas. And this live Xin Fa Xiang, yes, we hope that everyone will attend it every day, even though maybe some have difficulty understanding Minanyu. But after continuous listening daily, I can tell from my experience, you're gonna learn it in a few months. You're gonna understand more and more, and at the end, you don't even need live captions. You can understand. Just like a baby, start learning languages, okay, from blank mind to absorbing all the language around the baby. So this Xin Fa Xiang is also this absorbing the Dharma. Okay, soon maybe we don't understand other Minani in daily life, but we understand the Dharma, Dharma in Minani, because I myself, I'm a Malaysian. I don't speak very good Minani. I don't understand much, but here after a few years, I can tell I understand almost 100% right now. So it takes a bit of time and patience to really improve. So it just need to be continually persisting on this belief that you're gonna learn, you're gonna understand it. I have a talk with one of the brother in Taiwan. So he told me that his house is around 1 hour away from the center, and he has to cycle every day because he tried to save the planet. Okay, so he's not going to ride motorcycles or car. So he cycle to the center, even it rains or even it's cold out there. So this is how their perseverance, or we also heard the stories from the China, so it's like minus how many degrees, I forgot. So they still persist every day, even though they don't understand much of Minani. So this is the persistence and the steadfastness that we need to cultivate. Okay, if we are poorly, if we are not, if we do not have this persistence, vow, steadfastness in our mind, if we are ill, how we say, 比较不愿力不强. Okay, weak in the vow. Okay, if you are weak, or if your mind is not strong enough, how are we gonna continue in this bodhisattva path? Because as this chapter said, the sentient being in this house is so hard. It's not easy to teach. So we need to learn to overcome obstacles. So we need to have a very strong, willful mind. So in this Xun Fa Xiang also, it's same. It trains us to have a strong will mind. Even though we are tired, or we got a flu, we don't feel well, but if we still persist today for a day, I believe your mind, you have a stronger mind, and it's gonna help you in your future cultivation. When you face challenges, you won't back off easily. Okay, that's my sharing. Okay, and thank you very much, and I hope we can meet each other more often. Okay, thank you, Kang Ân.
Okay, so thank you so much. I think because it's already 8:05, so maybe shall we end here, and then for question 5 we can for next week. Would that be okay, Sister Su Jing?
Yeah, yes. Cảm ơn. Okay, cảm ơn Masters, cảm ơn Sư Phụ, cảm ơn Brother Joe, you pay Sister Su Jing. Okay, cảm ơn so much for sharing lots of life wisdom. Cảm ơn. Thank you, Pusas, for your presence today. Hope that each of us could sustain the Dharma joy and take in another piece of Masters and Hoa Lian's love to our life. Let us please make 3 bows to the Buddha and Master Chen Yan as we depart to apply this teaching in our daily life. Let us pay our respects to our teachers of life universal truth. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. And a bow to our beloved Sifus who could join us today. And also let's bow to each other. Cảm ơn everyone. Cảm ơn for your presence.
Thank you. Bye.